Like, how did you go from that to John Legend and The Roots and Justin Timberlake and your crazy list of A-listers?
Courtney Klimson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's we have a saying in the house. It's like, protect the brand and don't suck. It's just pushed us from in the college days, and she's a high operating individual. She was 2 years younger than me, still at the same college. We always knew we'd work together. Like, we had high levels of perfectionism and work ethic, and the honor of doing it correctly.
So I know I talk a lot about AI, and probably most of you are sick of hearing me talk about AI, but obviously it's something that's here. It's not going away. We're not going to be able to chase it away. We're not going to be able to create laws and rules around blocking it away. It's a race to the bottom, really, when it comes to AI. We've got sort of an arms race between us, China, and other parts of the world. And so it's here to stay. However, one thing that I've discovered in my extensive use of AI at this point is that humans are necessary still. And especially when it comes to specialized stuff like what we do. The entertainment or live events business has a lot of specialized tools, a lot of specialized words, meanings, methods, processes, whatever you want to call it. But I do know that even just when it comes to some of the words we use, gear, for example, all of my companies have gear in them. And one of the things AI wants to do is draw little gears, like mechanical gears. And I'm constantly telling it how, no, not gears. We're not gears like that. Gear, in our sense of the term, is equipment, lighting, sound, staging, video equipment. And yet it always seems to fall back to the same terrible place. So, but that's, sorry for my throat today, but that's one of those very simple examples. There's a lot of examples. And over the past couple of weeks, I've been in a daily arm wrestle with regard to our wire platforms, the news platforms, EventWire and SpeedWire, where we've had a couple of really significant sort of faults that it created itself, it being AI created itself. And one of them is, without our knowledge, it stopped our on-platform subscribe function. So basically people subscribe and you get this success thing saying, successful, you've subscribed, you'll now get our daily feed or our daily wire digest, and you don't get it. And so if we go looking for your name in the subscriptions, you're not there. So today finally got that fixed, and it impacted SpeedWire the most because EventWire, obviously being in our industry, it shares with a lot of our other platforms, and it's growing like crazy. It's up over 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers already in just a couple of months. But SpeedWire's kind of been stalled at the gate. And it's because people are signing up organically on our platform and not getting signed all the way through. So I had to discover this completely by accident and went in and had it sort of rebuild what wasn't broken in the beginning, but then at some point got broken without noticing. But there's been other things. Like if you are listening to this, I'm recording it today on, I believe it's June 16th. Last week, we had basically something that broke, that got broken, that was sending out the same newsfeed every day. And so if you get our emails, you were probably reading it every day and going, this sounds familiar. Or wasn't this 3 days ago that this happened? And it suddenly wasn't really fresh anymore. And it was, again, just a stupid little break that happened. We discovered it. We fixed it. But again, my learning from all of this is there needs to be a human in the loop, at least today, and probably for the foreseeable future when it comes to specialized industries or specialized markets like ours. I just don't see a autopilot system working very well in our industry, whether you're talking about lighting programming, audio front of house mixes, or simple media platforms. I believe there have to be humans in the loop, which is good news because I happen to like humans still. However, again, a lot of the simplification or simplified tasks that we do on a daily basis, I do believe will continue to be replaced by AI, and you won't need so much human effort on those. But again, I look at it like this, and I tell my staff this virtually weekly, at least, if not daily, that you're not replacing yourself, you're bumping yourself up the ladder. And so replace your mundane and repeated tasks today with AI, and then you'll be working on more important things. And before you know it, you're the CEO and I can retire. And so, that's how I see it. I see really AI lifting you up, not crushing you and throwing you out of your role. And so, I still believe that in most people's minds, there's either a dystopian or a utopian future. And I tend to look at it somewhere in the middle. I think that some people are going to be impacted adversely. I believe most people are going to be impacted positively. We are going to see the end of cancer and the end of dementia and the end of so many of these diseases and problems that have impacted us for at least my whole lifetime, if not much further beyond that as well. So anyways, that's been my AI dilemma for the past couple of weeks, is just really arguing with it every morning for about an hour at the start of my day when I just discover something broken, and it becomes this rabbit hole that I end up going down. So, but at the same time, I will tell you that EventWire specifically is performing wildly better than my expectations. It's doing really, really well. And the companies who are using it love it. The people who are using it tell me every day it's how I get my news now. And I'm talking, real top people in this industry are sending me messages saying, thank God you did this. It makes it so much easier for me to read one feed and get all of my information. So there you go. It's not a plug. Really, I'm just telling you my own reality here, what's been going on for the past couple of weeks. So in the industry, as I mentioned, as I'm talking to you right now, I believe Infocom starts maybe tomorrow. I think it starts the 17th, the trade show, or maybe the 16th. And I don't know if you heard about it. Believe it or not, I actually read about it on EventWire this morning, but a flight going into Las Vegas that was carrying a lot of people to Infocom, because some people reported who were in our industry about this flight. But the plane caught fire, and it was because of someone charging their phone and had a faulty cable or something, and it sparked and started a fire. And so I think they had to, I don't want to make up the rest. I didn't read the entire article. I read the headline just on our platform. So you can go check it out on eventwire.ai, and you can read that article. But it's crazy, a plane going to Infocom, somebody catches it on fire with a faulty charging cord. So, yeah, that's all I got for you today. We have a great guest today, as we always do. Paul Klimson is a veteran audio guy, producer, entrepreneur, and one of the most respected monitor engineers in the live entertainment industry. Over a career spanning more than 25 years, Paul has worked with artists like Justin Timberlake, Drake, Madonna, John Legend, The Roots, Kelly Clarkson, and Eric Clapton, while also helping to shape the sound of more than 900 episodes of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. After decades on the road and behind some of the world's biggest productions, Paul has turned his attention to building the future of independent music. Alongside his wife, Courtney, he founded the Roadie Clinic, a nonprofit dedicated to improving the health and well-being of touring professionals, Theory One Studios in Niles, Michigan, and is currently developing Brass Alley Live and SoulSeed.tv. Innovative ventures designed to create new opportunities for artists and the crews who support them. From life on the road to life after touring, Paul has some incredible stories and an inspiring vision for what's next. Please welcome Paul to the podcast. Paul, how are you?
Good. How are you?
We're here. We're
We're
live.
here.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. I know you're a crazy busy guy. You got so many things going on, and I can't wait to talk about every single one of them. But, first, I really learning a little bit about you, not only from your lovely wife, Courtney, but also just doing a little bit of research leading up to this podcast. You've done a lot, and you're way up there as far as audio guys are concerned, and especially on the monitor side of things. You're kind of like one of the OGs out there, I guess. So tell me, I know you grew up in somewhere in the Midwest, I think in Illinois or something, right?
Yep.
What caused you to bump your head and say, I really want to join this circus of an industry?
Playing music growing up. We were living in Morrison, Illinois, which is the northwest corner, and there wasn't a lot of culture back then. Mostly just seeing bands at the county fair, which I think a Joe Diffie rolled through once, and I was just kind of like, what is the, it was a rolling,
that's cool,
curiosity over childhood. But brother had a drum set in the basement. I was 10 years younger, so when he left for college, I started, breaking mom's wooden spoons on pans, and she said one summer, let's get you a drum set. And I think I collected, 400 pounds of cans that summer and paid for half of it, and they spotted the rest of it, which I don't think they knew what they were going to get themselves into, because it went to the basement, and all of a sudden that became the music room for most of my friends.
It's funny because that's almost exactly the same as my story originally. It was the same thing. Like, I remember the first bass rig that I did similar things to collect the money to buy my first bass rig. It was I think it was called Darius, which I don't even think exists anymore, and it barely did at that time. It was probably one of the first Chinese bass amps ever in the history of amplifiers, but usually it was Trainer and stuff in Canada. But yeah, very similar story.
Yeah.
So then
that led to
it got serious.
Yeah, that led to playing in bands, and the one band was Straight Originals. 3 of us. The other guys were a couple years older, and so I got to be about a sophomore and could drive, and I gutted my parents' van seats out and had drums and sound in there at one point. My parents let me get a PV sound system to DJ with to make more money out with, around the county. But they went off to a couple of colleges in Northern Illinois, and I think the bass player went to Purdue. And so we started playing, frat parties and saved up some money and ended up recording a 3-song EP out in middle of nowhere, Iowa, because that was the closest studio. And I was done first as the drummer. So then when the engineer, it was old, probably a Tascam Mackie board with D88s and a DAT machine to print to, and dumped the DAT to a cassette tape so we could rock it on the way home. But after drums, I sat next to the engineer, and he hit something aux and sent it to a reverb, and I was like, what is that? And he just handed me headphones and put me with a box and it was over. That was
oh really? That was it, huh?
That was in. And then
when you started realizing that you could actually affect the sound,
yes,
you could change the output and the result.
It's just lots of curiosity growing up, and great I always credit great band director, Mr. Bean, and English teacher, Mrs. Frame, and choir, and an art teacher, Mr. Nesty. And they really opened our brains probably more than, it was just a lucky situation. They just were very committed.
What grade of school was that you were starting to get into?
Junior higher and high school. Like, it was pretty,
really that early, huh?
Even singing in the church choir. Our English teacher, Mrs. Frame, was the choir director at the church I went to, and they put some pretty challenging stuff in front of us at a young age. My band director would sign me up for state competitions without telling me, like, oh, hey, you're going to do an upright bass solo, jazz solo. Here's the piece, learn it. So he really saw the potential of what we could do and stuck us into things.
That's wild. Yeah. Again, I mean, very, very similar path. Mine was instead of the van being gutted, it was a station wagon. I'm a little bit older than you, so it was a 1976 Gran Torino station wagon. The light blue with the panel wood on the sides and stuff. The stuff you'd see in like Brady Bunch old reruns or something, right? That was my parents' car at the time, and we had these Sun PA columns.
Yes.
And and a little Sun head. I think it was like a 4-channel head or something. You didn't mic the drums or anything at that point.
Yeah.
And so we'd have the Sun PA columns, all my bass gear, and sometimes the drum kit too, all in my parents' station wagon.
Yeah, jamming
and yeah, so same thing. And we actually rehearsed in a church.
Nice.
We rehearsed in the basement of a church. And to pay for that, we played this thing called the Rock Mass every Saturday night, which was like these German heavy metal songs translated to English, and just filled the church with kids constantly. So yeah, but
very similar. Yeah.
My school, growing up, the church really promoted music, but the school didn't for some reason. Like school, you'd have the goofy band stuff, where it was like, the snare stuff and horns and whatever. But even that was very minimal in the school that I went to. It was more about sports and academics, I guess,
Yeah.
And not even so much sports.
Yeah, I was given a choice in high school by the basketball coach, either that or the musical, and I'd already painted and hung lights and done stuff in that situation. I was like, wow, I'm more committed to this than that. So I guess
very cool.
That was the end of that world.
Yeah. So coming out of school, that turned into gigs and stuff, or did you just start building your own little mini sound company? You said your parents bought you a sound system to go out and DJ.
That got sold, and I went to the recording workshop in Ohio in '97.
Okay,
perfect for where the frontal cortex isn't formed yet. It was a perfect road. It wasn't very less on the academic side, even though we went through sheets every morning on signal flow and physics and why sound does what it does. And I think there's still a few guys there who still teach at that. It's out in Chillicothe, Ohio, but it was all the basics for about I think 4 weeks, and then 2 weeks of maintenance that you could take another class on. So soldering. I remember they put a sub in the middle of the room and had us walk around just to experience as much as they could put into us before sending us.
Interesting.
And then the last little one was New Tech, and it was like Pro Tools 1, like 2 or 3 max in a room that they found and jammed it in. And you just kind of like imported things and edited it, and you'd hit the button and come back, half an hour later on a edit you did and see how it worked. But getting that experience then was massive in the years to come right then.
Well, again, age, so for me, learning to record, like splicing, you were literally cutting tape and splicing it together. And it was hard. It was expensive. It was very time consuming. You couldn't just do edits on the fly and stuff. You had to usually re-record. It was cheaper and easier than all of the editing that you could do. And for nearly 40 years, Pangolin has been driven by a single mission to bring you the very best in laser entertainment technology. Since 1986, they've empowered hundreds of thousands of clients across entertainment, industrial, and creative fields, delivering world-class laser systems that redefine what laser technology can do. Today, Pangolin operates globally with offices in the USA, Central Europe, and mainland China, and their innovations have been recognized with more than 40 awards for technical achievement and product quality. Their technology has also helped clients earn countless artistic awards, powering some of the most iconic shows, brands, and experiences on the planet. They support the world's largest tours, theme parks, corporate productions, festivals, and creators of all kinds, providing technology that serves everyone in the laser entertainment industry, from major productions and designers all the way to beginners just starting out their laser journey. Pangolin is behind the scenes, enabling the moments that move people. Visit pangolin.com today. Different, but you started in digital, right?
They still had analog there. I mean, we did a couple, just to recognize, we did tape lessons, but this was the place's first foray into starting that program with the digital. So we were kind of guinea pigs in a way. I mean, I definitely learned a ton, but I'd say getting that day one, right before getting out into the real world, that was massively monumental.
Super helpful. Yeah. Like, I mean, if 5 years earlier, you wouldn't know anything. Like going out into the real world now, if you learned 5 years ago, you're like, whoa, everything's so different. Like they
Yeah.
didn't teach me this stuff in school.
Yeah.
You know, it's
But
like
the
me walking up to a console. I don't even know how to turn it
turn it
on,
on. Yeah.
because I'm like old analog Soundcraft or Yamaha consoles
Mm-hmm.
was the last time I ever tried to mix a band or anything. I couldn't even turn it on today.
Yeah. And that's where I started.
Yeah.
A couple bumps in life. Ended up in St. Louis interning. The same guy who owned the studio owned a couple PAs around town, so he's like, "Hey, kid, you want to make $50?" You know, that type of thing, and mixing.
Yeah.
It was cover bands, but in St. Louis there was still kind of that tail end of the blues. So the players were massive in these cover bands, and when they stretched out in solos, it was pretty awesome. But it was a airport hotel lounge bar. Then they played 3 sets a night, and you see everybody kind of change. Like the scene would change 3 different times, and by the time you got to that 9 o'clock set, it was a little more dancing. Um, but all the mistakes, getting up in the chair and hitting the graph EQ with your knee, and all of a sudden, there's a bump at 2K, and put it back, like all those
Oops.
little,
Yeah.
yeah, you get out there and get burnt. And it's funny because in the moment, you take it so hard, but then you think no one remembers that now. Like no one, it doesn't stay on your permanent record.
Yeah.
So
But by then you already knew that was it, right? Like this was going to be your career.
yeah, it was definitely head down. How can I learn as much as I can? And kind of didn't have a choice. I went from there and got into Nashville, and I arrived in Nashville on a Wednesday. And because of the college that I passed through, it was Greenville College in Illinois. And funny enough, Al Caldwell was a bass player for Vanessa Williams at the time, I believe, but he was also friends with like the Weckl crowd in New York. And he
Hmm.
had a spot down in St. Louis, and I'd stay at the studio overnight and just sleep on the couch and then work the next day. And he'd call me down to his little production space and be like, "Yo, punch me in," because he's playing 6-string bass and doing the whole thing. And he kind of was like, "Do you want to keep wrapping cables?" And I was like, "No, man. Like, what's next?" He goes, "Okay, go back to college, take conducting, take music theory, and get an education." And he goes like, "Production is where you want to go. That's the it." And so I found Greenville College at the time, and it was home of
You
Jars of
just did what he
Clay.
said.
Yep. Yeah, my entire career has kind of been like the phone rings and you do what the old guy says.
That's wild. That's
Which has
wild.
been great because now stepping out, teaching the next generation, it's I'm trying to be what I needed when I was 25 or 20 or
So cool.
19.
Love that.
But got to Greenville College, got about 2 years. I spent too much time in the studios, so I bombed out. But we had a great professor, and he taught throwing the hot pot and learn it kind of like what I was used to, and even in high school. But the bands that came through that were associated with the CCM world would play at our college and usually not bring their crew. The crew would go on to St. Louis or wherever to set up, and then the band would join later. They'd come and do like an afternoon in class thing, and the students would mix it and do the lighting for it. So we got a lot of like real world. They do like an acoustic set, so it was like 8 inputs. But we kind of like bumped into these bands who had come from our college or were in the CCM world and passed through. And so that kind of sucked me right into Nashville. And having known somebody when I got there, and many somebody's, more than 10, was huge. So I got there on a Wednesday, and by Saturday I was on a tour bus doing 5 bands in one bus, crew, bands, doing these little CCM, hitting Midwest church mega churches and playing. Everybody gets and plays their set and
That's
sells their merch.
wild. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Jeez. So 2 days and you were gone
Mhm.
on tour. So did you just kind of stay on tour after that, or?
Yep. It just kept from there until now. It was just little tiny baby steps, and everything accumulated. The first desk was a Yamaha M3000 M monitor desk, and it had 4 auxes with a pan knob, and then 8 more auxes that were, you know, odd as left ear, even as right ear. And so it's like, pan the tom to the left. Okay, well, less of the right, more of the left as you turned both up to get it to center or whatever.
So when did you make the determination that you wanted to be, or did it just happen by accident that you were a monitor guy as opposed to front of house?
I say it chose me. I mean, I've always been kind of the kid in the room up until, the past years. But the old guy was at front of house, and he flew the PA on crank ups and drove the truck. And it was just kind of like, I don't know, put him with the band and take care of the band. And I think at that point, it was still the monitors were like a lesser position than they are now.
Yeah.
Now it seems like it's everything. But yeah, back then it was kind of like the scrub work. So that's where I
Yeah. I
started.
mean, but I love it. I mean, obviously, the fact is that not everybody can be the front of house guy or
Yep.
wants to be necessarily.
Yeah.
And I've always thought like that. Monitors essentially were harder because your
Mhm.
audience is more difficult.
Yeah.
The audience to the front of house is a bunch of, as long as the kick drum kicks you in the balls
Yep.
and it's loud enough and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But your audience, the artists, can be a little
Mhm.
much more picky,
Yeah.
you know.
I think the first day, the success of the first day, the band walked in. They were probably 3 shows in, and I'd come from that other run with the bus, the first bus, and whatever singer was on it's like, "Hey, I'm joining this other tour in Atlanta. They need a monitor engineer." And, you don't say no at that point in life, at that point
Right.
of your career.
Yeah.
So, I showed up and I kinda looked at the desk and there was, like, pads pushed in and gains all the way up and some wackadoo stuff on EQs. Not that I knew anything, but even just looking at it when we tipped the desk, I was kinda like, "This doesn't look right." And the first band walked in. It was the Small Town Poets, and, they were a big enough name that I knew from my youth group years in school and, high school and junior high that I was like, "Oh, this is a big deal." Like, they were big time at that moment in my life.
Yeah.
And I was kind of intimidated, which is a good place to start off at to, big respect to the bands and make sure they're happy. But, I kind of said the first 10 minutes when they walked on stage, I'm like, "Hey guys, this doesn't look right. Can we start from scratch?" And the lead singer looked and said, "Yes, please." Like they'd been having a tough time at it. So I started from scratch, at least pulled some stuff out and sweated through that first sound check with them. And as they're leaving, they're telling the next band, like, "Oh, it'll be okay. Don't worry about it." Like,
Oh
he's
God.
got you. So I think some of that, I work really well when I can connect in a way that I can predict what to do with the band and have that collaboration. Um,
Y-
I
Do
really
you know?
strive on that one.
Do you know another monitor guy, Ryan Goldbacker?
No, no, not Ryan Goldbacher. Nope.
He does a lot of old school rock bands, like
Hmm.
he does Sebastian Bach and Accept, and a lot of these. What's the other one? The singer from Cinderella, Kiefer,
Mm.
Tom Kiefer. He's doing
Hmm.
Tom Kiefer right now. Really good guy, but similar story where it's just it chose him. He
Hmm.
loved it and just loved that rapport that it gave him with the artist,
Yeah.
and just stuck, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So
I'm always go by whoever's downstage center. That's, what's most important. But
mm,
later in my career, falling into big bands like, 16 people on stage, 10 people on stage, it's fun to, because you have like utilitarian mixes and then artistic mixes. You'd say front of house is an artistic mix. And then
mm,
the guitar player needs his guitar the loudest. That's the utilitarian mix. But
yeah,
poking through mixes when a band's cooking and you're like, oh, his groove is a little off, maybe some more hi-hat. Like just helping,
yeah,
like almost
that's interesting.
arranging to help, you know, it go better, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when Jim Yakubuski, when he first broke out of clubs, because I come from the same town,
Mm.
Calgary, Canada, and he was doing all the club bands in Calgary, Canada, or in Western Canada. He was doing a bunch of the good club bands way back in the day. And when he first kind of broke out, and I spoke to him not long after, one of his earliest gigs, I think it was with DB,
Mm.
he did monitors for Ingve.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he said that was like the hardest gig ever,
Yeah.
because it was all wedge monitors, floor monitors with
Oh.
just guitar out of everything, right? So
Mhm.
nobody could hear anything except guitar.
Yeah.
And he was always like, come on, more guitar, more guitar, So it was just nuts how
Yeah.
much the guitar just kind of overtook everything. And in-ears, I guess, solves that an awful lot where different people can have different mixes.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, that original tour, doing some churches and stuff, obviously you kind of blew up from there. So how did that happen? Like, how did you go from that to John Legend and The Roots and Justin Timberlake and your crazy list of A-listers?
Courtney Klimson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's we have a saying in the house. It's like, protect the brand and don't suck. It's just pushed us from in the college days, and she's a high operating individual. She was 2 years younger than me, still at the same college. I actually recorded her girls quartet. Uh, and
Wow, there's a story.
I've been sworn to never play it ever again, and have destroyed all of the copies that exist, and she has the only one now. So I think I'm safe. My life is safe. But just bumping with her, and we always knew we would like, doing things around college, and she would sing in the church ensembles because the praise bands showed up on stage about that time. But we always knew we would work together. Like, had high levels of perfectionism and work ethic, and the honor of doing it correctly. And we kind of got serious dating, and I was still in Nashville doing the CCM Weekend Warrior stuff. And she's like, well, if we're getting married, you have to move back to Greenville and be close. It's just kind of like the traditional thing to do in her world. So I did, and luckily the professor I had vouched for me, and I was able to adjunct be a professor for a couple semesters while we were solidifying life. But then we moved back to Nashville. She got a job by the skin of her teeth at EMI CMG in Brentwood back in the day when they had a whole building off of Bell Road. And it was all of our friends that were there. Like, all the bands that we kind of went to college with were on a lot of the labels that were in that building. And like all the rest of music, made a bunch of connections. The people are still in our life to this day. Even from that first band I toured with, the drummer did an install in Minnesota, and he called us to get the gear and to provide the mine service. And we were like, yeah, remember that first tour where you borrowed a vacuum from me to do vacuum your drum rug? And it just
That's
goes
hilarious.
back to the beginning, which is to say, like, if you're friends with the guitar tech, one day they might be the tour manager. So keep that in mind.
so she was basically out marketing you and
she was doing her own thing, and she was in the Christian world. But again, the same weekend she got her job, when we moved to Nashville, we had no money at all. I mean, it was just, we were young, 20 somethings. I got a call for Tanya Tucker, and I cannot figure out how. It was a lovely human being, Martin Fry. I think he's mixing at the Country Music Hall of Fame now down there. He's got the house gig there. But another Canadian, very detailed, as Canadians are. And so I don't know how I got my number, but it kind of started with, hey, I've got this artist. You probably only last one weekend, but at that point, the $200 was going to get us through the month. So whatever. And so he brought me to his house and was like, here's the ear rig. Here's how it goes together. Here's why we use this. There's these microphones. Like, as much prep as I could get walking into that first weekend. But was out in the first show was Branson, big room.
Who was that again?
It was Tanya Tucker back then.
Oh, right. Yeah. Tanya Tucker. Yeah.
And so, young and hungry, got to fight for your life, and Swim with the Sharks, the first two songs. And by the third song, it's kind of like, well, I'm going home, so I might as well, just mix. And turned out she did want a full mix and to hear everything, and not just vocal and reverb and keys and a bass. It was.
So she actually liked it.
I liked all of it, because she came from that era of standing in front of the band with just a couple wedges, and everything came naturally from behind you, and the band leveled themselves on the stage.
Right.
I think I was 20 years younger than everybody on the bus, and that kind of started the young, smart, works hard, try to just keep up era.
Interesting.
But at the same time, I was.
But did that put you at conflict with the old, grumpy? This is how we've always done it.
No, group? It was the her vibe was get it done. It was like just get it done. And I had to learn a lot of etiquette with the band, and they were awesome, like great human beings. Would go over to the bass player. Bass player was the MD, Jay Weaver, and he also played with Dolly Parton. So we'd go over and he'd like play me board tapes of Dolly Parton from his weekend somewhere. Like, Nashville's that whole thing where you bounce between gigs, whoever's working, and hopefully you can string enough things along to get through the month. But yeah, he'd even throw the cassette tape in after the show in the bus front lounge. We're like, dude, we just played the show, and now we're going over like, oh, listen right there, like, the steel part. Yeah, he
Yeah.
got right to the. So it was just this kind of like all for one for all vibe on the bus. So it was
That's
easy
cool.
to just keep up and take the cues from everybody else, and sit in the corner and be quiet.
And did you like the Weekend Warrior thing, like where you were back home on Sunday night, or?
uh I don't think it was just so new back then, but what it
Yeah.
did create was the beginning of a lot of the things that Courtney and I live by to this day. And that was, we named Mondays transition day, where I couldn't put the milk back correctly. My clothes are everywhere when it's like she learned how to live for 4 days without me as newlyweds. Like, this was year one of our marriage. And here I
Right.
am, the grubby roadie coming into our house. Like who's this
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
hilarious.
a lot of what we do now stems from that era of communication and trying to figure out how to navigate weekend warriors. And it caused a bigger problem where she was 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, and I would leave Wednesdays, Thursdays, and be gone till Monday. So I was gone for her weekend, and then I picked up another job night managing at the Sound Kitchen. And so here I am working 6 till 6 a.m., and she'd come about 11 or 12 and bring food for whoever was still working. So hospitality has
Wow.
always been a big deal to our family that way.
That is so great. Yeah. She's like mom to everyone, I guess, huh?
Which harkens back to kind of the old, like Sound City. Like, there was always, all the studios had that one mama bear who kept, all of the troops fighting fairly. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I love that. Yeah.
yeah. So
How do you get from that to that next level?
Uh, one of my good friends from college, Dave Burns, had moved to New York with his wife, Dee Dee. They're still friends. He was the best man in our wedding, cousins with Courtney. And he hit me up one day and he's like, what are you doing in Nashville? The country is so clean, and Christian is so clean as far as the recordings and stuff. He's like, you got to move to New York, get some grit on you. And Courtney went through about 3 rounds of layoffs at EMI that she kept surviving because she was
My ex-wife was EMI as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
that time
So
period where Napster kind of, threw things in a tizzy.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So she kept seeing her friends getting fired and heard she was doing their jobs because she was the cheapest, in the building at that point, with
Uh,
whatever wave of people came in with her. So we were like, you know what? Let's give this New York thing a shot. And back then, Craigslist was kind of still able. You could, get a gig the day of in New York on Craigslist. Maybe it was hold the boom for a cheap movie or something, or a low budget movie.
yeah.
And I found a composer who needed an assistant. And to me, I thought, an engineering assistant. To him, he thought someone to flesh out the parts, like an arranger. He
Uh,
wanted a music assistant, but
yeah.
he sent him the resume. He still entertained me, and flew to New York, slept on our friend's couch, and then got my way to the interview. And he put me last of the day because he thought I wouldn't make it. And so talked to him. We kind of like, oh, sorry, isn't quite what I'm looking for. But then by the end of the conversation, he's like, wait a minute, you could like take care of the room, make sure it works. He was all MIDI at that point, came from Synclavier, and didn't, hadn't integrated the MIDI IO yet. It had just come out. He had an O2R that kind of saved files and a 480 back then. So there was a little of like recall in his room, but not where I got it to. So he decided like, oh, if you take care of everything technical, then I can just write. I can just do this. And he had some aspirations to do more recordings. He's like, oh, you can come do the studio stuff. So it was a kind of an aha moment for him, and then benefited us. So within, it was before cell phones, really, you could, like, before data. So it was just, calling. So I remember not knowing anything about how it went, and then landing in Nashville, and Courtney had printed out the Hotmail email that said, you're hired, and when can you start? And so that threw us into another wild adventure. We can't seem to get away from him, but moved to
Yeah.
New York and found an apartment and dove into that.
I love that.
But like everything, it changed. He went from, we used to do packages for Good Morning America and PBS and stuff, and commercials, and all that stuff back then where you needed a full orchestra. It was, again, I've kind of seen all of the, like, St. Louis losing the blues world, and then when I was in Nashville, the tape machines are coming out and radars are going in, and then Pro Tools is coming in, and then rooms are completely changing with controllers going in and SSLs coming out, and then getting to New York, watching that kind of advertising world with spec music go away. So that kind of dried up for him. He took a different route, and I ended up at Mask Sound, which MASQUE, which is a Broadway rental house.
Very familiar with them.
And found out quickly that I was kind of one of the only engineers in the place. There's like project management, because lists would come in from the Broadway designer or their assistant co-designer, and you just fulfilled it. It was just like, going to Blockbuster. I want that tape and that tape. And it was the same thing. We need these speakers. And, the most technical guys there, the sales guys at the time, worked on Broadway. So they spoke the language, but they're the ones who did the deal. And once the paperwork came down to the floor, it's just, fulfilling it. And there was people in the shop who had weekend jobs doing the music. So we all loved music, but I got sent on a lot of things. Like L Acoustics came out at that time. So they brought the school to the shop, because it's, a lot of designers wanted to see what it was doing. So the first VDOS, how to rig it, how to fly it. They did a Meyer Sim class on Sim 1, I guess, at the time. Bob McCarthy came. So, and I missed half of that. Like, I was not ready for that level of, at 23 or 4, it was just it was way deep at the time. James Staffo came up, because at the time Mask owned Professional Wild Surfaces down in Orlando, and he came and taught RF back to radar. Like, here's how we used to do it. So it was a lot of history, and that was great. And it was a lot of gear, because they had a inventory system that was like, oh, you want a console? Okay, well, you also need the power supply and the connector cable and the rack. And so it was learning a lot of that. It's not just the piece, it's all these other pieces that go with it. And then that led to John Legend needing a monitor engineer for a one-off in Miami, and they sent the file over. And again, I was like, I don't know, there's vocals going to the drum verb, and can I, clean this up? And the tour manager at the time was like, yeah, it's your gig to lose, so, do your thing. So kind of prepped a rig, no tracks, just looking at the file. And then that got shipped to Miami. I met up with it. And halfway through sound check, the drummer, who was the MD at the time, was like, oh, you're our new monitor guy. I'm like, I already have 2 other jobs back at Mask. So I stayed on at Mask for a while, but touring took off. And by the time we kind of
they just hired you on that one-off gig.
Yeah, it was you're in.
Wild.
And they were about to go out on the Evolver tour. John was doing one-offs with that band off of the first record. And I think he had just gotten his name, granted to him for, I don't know if it was Oprah or Kanye, but he became John Legend. We were lucky to rehearse at Paisley Park at the time. I don't know if Prince enjoyed him. Cool. And everybody was kind of getting behind him, and I'm glad they did. Honestly, it really sparked a lot of things. My tech was John Ostrin, who was older than I was and had way cooler creds than I did at the time. Like, why am I behind the desk? Like, this guy's the heavyweight. So he came out and took really good care of me. The band, we were all young. Like, the band was young, John was young, but a lot of hard work and a lot of learning fast. I remember Matt Larson, because we were in Minneapolis, came out with one of the first Digicos at the time. We got our hands on that.
For 50 years, ETC has made a name for itself in the world of entertainment technology. You can find ETC products in buildings of every size across the entire globe. Broadway shows, rock concerts, sports stadiums, outdoor parks, TV studios, and convention centers, you name it. They have all trusted ETC to make their spaces beautiful and safe. Many of these spaces include rigging systems to keep them running smoothly and safely. Fortunately, ETC Rigging offers a range of hoists and controls to accommodate the unique needs of various production spaces and budgets. ETC's motorized hoists and hoist control systems raise theater technology, including stage curtains, lighting equipment, backdrops, projection screens, and more. And the recent addition of Prodigy Balance, a new counterweight rigging solution for loads up to 1,200 pounds, brings more options to venues looking for safe, user-friendly rigging. If you need backstage rigging that is easy to learn and safe for students and volunteers to use, Prodigy Balance could be the answer. ETC is known for its customer support and 24/7, 365 availability. But now, employees have even more of a personal stake in maintaining that reputation because ETC has become 100% employee-owned. Each person building the rigging systems, developing the control software, and answering support calls is actually an owner at ETC. Outstanding support, reliable products, innovative technologies. This is the foundation of excellence ETC has built over the past 50 years, and they plan to deliver more in the next 50. For the latest ETC products and installation news, visit etcconnect.com.
When I was at Mask, I got to go to Avid in Menlo Park because the profile was coming out. So it was, Scaffy, Dave Scaff, rest in peace. The other massive Avid engineer we have, Scoville, and a couple other heavyweights that were part of that project to make it an engineer board. Were there for that. So it was like half sales meeting and then half here's how to use it. And I was way more on the user side because I knew the culture at Mask was, well, we're going to either buy them or not. It depends on someone specs it. Like I'm not selling, I can't sell these things to anybody other than, hey, you should try this. It does this.
Yeah. So that typical of any sound company, really, right? Yeah. We want what our customer wants.
Yeah. So stayed late a few nights after the sales. It was a week long of going through this desk and sat with some Black Eyed Peas tracks that they had procured with a video. So you could like mix and watch the video of this front of house thing, and you could mix as much as you could. So I stayed behind and just dove into the profile, and that came in massively handy in the years after that. But through that, still when I was just before the John Legend era, I did some Broadway events, and one of them, they wanted to use the profile at monitors, and they had the new Midas out at front of house. It was some benefit, like not Broadway Cares, but some other, benefit that they did, and like 6 or 8 Broadway acts came and did the main song. So I was mixing 8 different acts, so then snapshots come into play, and snapshots were brand new. I mean, old snapshots were Polaroid cameras to shoot the desk. So Scaff was my tech for that. Dave Scaff, he's mixed U2. He'd mixed the biggest shows in the world. And so we were backstage in Monitor World, just I was picking his brain about how to be a monitor engineer in the pop world. So that was kind of the education at that point. Wow. Was everything he downloaded to me over 6 or 8 days of us just sitting around waiting for the next act to show up.
You must have got home that night and said, Courtney, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe what just happened.
I feel like I've been an observer for 20 some years. It finally feels like I'm in control of my destiny now. Yeah. But back then was just hold on to the rope and stay behind the speedboat and don't fall down. It really was. Dave and I had enough contacts that when I was with John up in Paisley Park doing the rehearsals, he called and said, you gotta come trap for this show in New York. He's like, I can't do it. He was at Lidditz at that point. So he's like, I can't come do it. I don't want to move back. I don't want to move to New York. I don't want to be part of the.
Oh, you'd already moved out of New York.
Oh, we'd up there. Dave didn't want to move to New York and take this gig on.
He didn't. Oh, no. I see.
So I get it. Yeah. You're perfect for it. You should go try out for it. And I convinced J.O. to mix one of the shows because he was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do this, whatever. I'm like, no, put the ears in. Just listen to it. It's like 12 front of house mixes just with them a little louder. So we were like, yeah, John hasn't really asked for anything in a few shows. Just get through the snapshots. You'll be fine. So he mixed a show, and then I was able to be whisked away by Courtney. She met the bus when we were passing by New York and got me cleaned up. And I went over and got to go to SNL and hand a resume to Stacey Foster, who's at the time another gentleman who's not with us anymore, but had a massive influence on the 30 Rock building, kind of like Lorne Michaels' right-hand man when it came to music and audio and what was appropriate and get things done. And Jay Vicari, Stacey kept a desk in the mix room at Fallon, at SNL. And so Jay was in there. Josiah Gluck was in there. I think he's now behind the console over there. And so I went into that room, and you kind of like hand the resume, and they're like, nope, crinkled up, throw it in the garbage. Like, you're already in the room. Like, you're already here. You don't need a resume. So,
wow.
A couple of words. I don't even remember. It was such a blur. Like a couple of words with those gentlemen, and like, here's how we do things. And then somebody whisked me away again out to Monitor World, and I met Al Bonomo. He was mixing SNL at the time and had only missed one show in 25 years. So I kind of was like, wait, maybe he's retiring. I'm like trying to figure this out, even though I was taking all of it in and trying to remember all of it. I think that was a big part of being so young when I started, was just like, pay attention. All the answers are in front of you. I mean, there's 9 ways to use a desk and outboard gear and whatever, but how does this person do it and why?
Yeah.
And waiting for that moment to ask those things appropriately. And I think being the young kid and like kind of like shut up and sit over there was very handy to just pay like use your eyes. Like, what is he doing? Why? What would I do? That's the other thing is I tell assistants like plan your plan of action out because I may be sick tomorrow.
Yeah.
You may have to jump in.
That's a very good point. Very good point.
So,
So, but this all started with just a buddy of yours saying, "Hey, you need to go and try out for this gig or whatever."
yeah, and by the end of that SNL gig, I watched the rehearsals. It was T.I., it was a vocal and a DJ, so it was an easy input list, but they were still using a PM1D where the guest band was on the top layer, or on the bottom layer, and the house band was on the top layer. So there was like a show. He had a file that was useful for the band, but then the second layer could be used for whoever came through. So it was a pretty easy show on the guest band side, but there were still like moves during the intro that the band needed to hear. During the sax solo, it's like, we'll ride that up, and it was post to everybody, but, man, I can't believe I'm blanking on it's like the most famous band lead in the world at SNL. Gosh, killing
I
myself.
forget his name too.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him in my head right now, but I forget. I haven't watched SNL in so long too.
Yeah.
But I know who you're talking about.
But by the end of it, it was like, you're Jimmy Fallon's monitor guy. I'm like, who's that? And why does he need a monitor guy? And then back on tour, kind of negotiated the deal from the jump seat of the bus. And then, that was like November, October-ish. And by February, I was off the tour and J.O. took over, and he's still there to this day. And his John Legend file is massive. Like, I got to fly it once and I was just like, wow, like, look at all the things you're doing. And there's a lot of old school in it, but with the new school. Like, he came from that old school. And physics haven't changed. Physics and audio haven't changed. We're just chopping it up differently. So, the old stuff still matters.
So, how did you get the Fallon gig then?
I was in once I kind of, went to the SNL thing and tried out. I got to mix the show is what it was. Bonhomme was like, you're mixing the show. So I did the intro moves and it was live. I mean, no one's hearing it. The band's hearing it and T.I. was hearing it, but the audience doesn't hear it. But still, if you mess up, it's known.
Yeah. So you were just part of the club now and you're vetted.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. You're approved.
I don't know if they were smart of them or not, but
well, and Fallon lasted a while, right?
Yeah, so we got into February, and at the time, Nathaniel Hare was there doing the install, and I think we were doing Radio City with John, like one of my last shows, and he's like, "Yo, sneak over, we're doing the install," and it was the PM1D from Conan had been rolled over at that point, and it was the monitor desk for that rig, and they had to use a DM64 to convert digital from, at the time, the original Opticore backbone snake, which came out of Germany. So every time we had to call, it had to be like, first thing in the morning when we got there to get help.
Fun.
But yeah, I mean, the rig kind of came together and it was kind of all borrowed from the building or put together from leftover stuff. There was really not much new. The PA was new. But yeah, late night was kind of like, hey, prove yourselves. Late night with Jimmy Fallon, the first era. I had G2 Sennheiser in-ears and not enough. I think I had to use the left side for one of our players in the Bruce who just wore one side and the right side of the pack for the other player.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, and then you had a frequency change. You have to get both packs back and and make it work. But there just wasn't enough. There wasn't just enough hardware
Scraping
yet.
from the bottom.
Yeah. But it was good. Wow. I mean, that crew was pretty tight in the very beginning, and between the crew and Jimmy figuring things out, and then the Roots as big as they became influence on that show, it was really a group effort for like a good 6 years to get that off the ground.
Wow. Yeah. So how long did that last in total, the Fallon thing?
I think 8 years at late night or however long that one was. And then I did about 6 months at the Tonight Show and things were changing in the building and things. So I got out of there and traded spots with Justin Timberlake's monitor engineer, Dan Horton, at the time. And then, so he trained me on the road show and I trained him on the studio show. And one day we just switched spots. And
was that because you wanted to get back out on the road? Or?
Yeah, I was feeling it. It's like, if you watch the progress from when I started in high school, it's like studio, live, industrial, studio, live, industrial. I just keep rotating.
Well, and as glamorous as the Tonight Show and the Jimmy Fallon thing is and stuff, at some point it just feels like a house gig, I'm sure. And,
yeah.
And
the
same
other
thing
part,
every day.
Yeah, and the other part was is, at the time, it was 2008, we'd bought a condo in Jersey City Heights, and the bottom fell out, so I had to take all the Roots road gigs and still be at the building 48 5 days a week, 48 weeks a year. So again, we weren't seeing each other. The wife and I didn't see each other a lot, and so
Yeah.
a good 7 or 8 years, anytime the Roots played a note, I was there.
Wow.
Because they still had like a residency at the Highline Ballroom in New York, so we'd go down at midnight and play till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then get back to Fallon by 9:30 to meet the guest band.
Jeez.
Fly
Wow.
to Europe over the weekend and do Roskilde and North Sea Jazz Fest, and Amsterdam, do a club in Amsterdam, play in Paris for 3 nights, and then come back to Fallon. So and they were doing records. We would do record release parties and Roots Picnic every year. I mean, there was a regimen of probably 50 gigs a year on top of 48 weeks at Fallon, because they were a
Wow.
touring band before Fallon. That's what they knew.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think people probably think they were just thrown together for that Fallon show,
Yeah, no,
like where'd they come from?
it's a tight
But
unit.
yeah, they
Yeah.
really are. They're so good. I just saw them on that what's his name? The Kevin Hart roast on
Oh
Netflix.
yeah,
It's very vile but very hilarious.
yeah,
It's really, really funny. And the Roots were the house band on
yeah.
that show, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, those things were
It's very,
normal.
very good.
In the middle of
Yeah.
everything else, let's go do a big show somewhere.
So you and Courtney got together and decided, okay, we're just going to flip a switch and I'm going to go back out on tour.
Yeah, I watched one show of Timberlake's. It was a private at Hammerstein Ballroom, and she could see the look on my face. Like, Dan had already kind of courted me to do the switch, and he's like, just come watch one show. We'll be in New York this week or whatever. So after Fallon, Courtney picked me up, and we went down and hit the Hammerstein show, and I sat on a case watching it, and I was just like, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. I was still not, I was on the fence. I was like, leave something that's known. And that was a different level of touring. It was a stretch, and Dan taught me really well. I learned a lot of things. Um, Kevin Glendenning, I think, was part of the original core file, because our thinking was a lot alike when he would throw me gigs to fill on for him. So it
What
kind
do
of
you
like
mean it was a stretch though?
uh, at Fallon, it's like you're mixing one song for the day, and it's like a club gig, because you're like, at the time on the P1D, we had to throw and go. Like, you dialed the file from scratch every day, because I couldn't have anybody load their PM1D file, because the Roots were on the top layer and guest bands were 49 through 96. So I think people weren't as picky, and in-ears were just coming in to the scene. Like, we went from renting like a couple units a week to a rack from SIR every day, and it would come and go because it was part of the backline. So every
Mm.
day I'm like hooking up 36 XLRs and dialing freaks that the part maintenance part would give you. Um, so yeah, in-ears became more ubiquitous, but I guess from the days of playing in clubs where it's like you walk in and one day it's DBX compressors, the next day you walk in it's BSS compressors. It
Right.
was a lot of bloody knuckle engineering, at Fallon show. But people, musicians stood up straight. Jimmy wanted bands to want to play at the Fallon show. Like, it kind of got communicated to us, and it's like, great. And the Roots played all the way through commercials. Oh, the other point of the entire story that was huge was right before the Evolver tour, John Legend did all the TV shows. Like, anywhere he could play, we played there. Even Regis and Kelly. I mean, it was like just every TV show. And so I saw how everybody negotiated that. And obviously Letterman was a certain vibe, and Leno was a certain vibe, and the union situations. And again, sit over there, kid, I got this. Like,
Mm.
but that's my artist, and he's wearing in-ears,
Yeah.
and there's certain
Yeah.
things that have to happen. So I think I kept all those notes, and when I got to Fallon, I kind of made my own way of navigating how to make sure the engineer imparted the artist specific things into what we were doing that day, and just being a great host to whoever came.
I love that. Yeah.
Only because Jimmy's going to come through that curtain. He's going to tell jokes. We're going to do our music, and we're all going to leave. So
Yeah.
from 9:30 in the morning when we got there with the guest band until noon, like, this is your time to make sure that when we do that changeover, like, there's nothing left to question, that it's going to come
Hmm.
back for your artist. So I made a lot of rules. There's a few artists that I was told not to speak to when they came as guests, and One time one of the people had their in-ears tucked in their jacket, came out, and the cameras are there and the audience is there, so they come out ready for the actual segment, the music segment with the audience, and they're hey, the Roots, and oh, hey, Jimmy, and they get settled into the mic, and Jimmy starts the intro, and they're like putting their ears in and
Right.
turning the pack on, and it takes so long for those packs to heat up, and maybe it's not the right level. So there was a rule, like, you walk out, and I walked to everybody after that show. You walk around like, hey, check your mic, but so the people I was told not to talk to, I would usually blow through that request from their management, just be like, I have to, I'm protecting the show, like, this is something you have to go do. So
yeah
a lot of that. And then when just picking engineers' pockets when people came through, like, it was like 1,800 bands that I got to mix monitors for over that season, and just everybody who came through, and then they would come back again. So I kept up with a lot of the new technology just from people brought the pollen to me, and oh, I remember it was a country artist, and they would cup the mic to where they put their finger on the capsule, and the EQ curve was just like mountain ranges and he's like, oh, here, listen to this. I'm like, wow, that is abrasive. And he's like, now put your finger over it, and oh, it was almost like a phase filter on it. And sure enough, dude came out and it was dead on. And it's just, that's time spent with your artist. And
that's awesome.
You become the psychologist.
I know, a lot of times when you're doing, whether it's house gigs or whatever, but you normally collaborate with the artist's team. So are they bringing in their monitor engineer? And
absolutely. Yeah,
you're hosting them?
Yeah, there was a time once we kind of got through the early days of late night, and it'd be like an A band once a month, but everybody else was like, who's hot right now? And we had an awesome booker at the time, Jonathan Cohen. He worked on things. He curated, and I think Quest helped. Jimmy would make requests on bands to bring on, if he saw somebody. We broke a lot of people at that point just because they'd never played TV, and there was room for that at that point. But once we started getting more notoriety, I remember waking up and like Grizzly Bear had tweeted out, man, the Fallon music team's awesome. And it kind of felt like, oh, we got to a spot, and like high fives all around. But it was like, yeah, it was a striving to make sure we were top notch when people came in. And Lawrence Manchester in the music room drove that and still drives that. We just did the Met Gala together, and I remember like his attention to detail, like, no, let's search out that thing, like, no, the tom mic isn't quite right, and him showing me how to kind of stop the ship for a second without losing the momentum. And that's just communicating with artists, like just his bedside manner with artists is incredible. So I learned a lot of that.
That's cool
from him. And if something moved, you had to mic it, this is TV. If you can see it and can't hear it. So, it was a lot of that.
Did you have to do any of that stuff in the back of the vans when they were doing the little musical bit?
Oh, no. We did do the tiny instruments, or the preschool instruments.
The little xylophone.
Yeah,
and whatever.
We did some of that. Yep.
Did you?
Yeah, there was a bunch of those
hilarious.
down the hallway in the band room, in the guest band room. Yeah.
Didn't it look like it was in the back of a van or something? I didn't watch it that often, but it always looked like they were sitting in the back of a van or something.
Oh, and it was the guest band room that had like a piano in it, and pictures on the wall. But they'd jam everybody in there, and those turned out great because it was a little bit of theater, the way you had to mic things, and a little bit of arrangement with. There's no fold back, there was no monitors, it was just people playing in a room. And
I just like the whole humanity of it all, like just the fact that you're taking somebody who's on a perch up here and bringing them down to earth and making them sit and sing without all the hoopla, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I saw a bunch of those that were pretty fun. So you're back on tour with Timberlake now, right? How long did that go on?
After Fallon, it was the end of 2020 experience, and then we did about a year of Trolls. It was like 5 gigs on the Trolls tip, and then Man of the Woods, and then I departed after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So those were big tours.
They were, and again, I was a fish out of water on 2020. There was a lot of things to learn, especially with a big band, and personalities, and it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot riding on the line, and so it was a growing experience.
Yeah. It always reminds me, like, I know you worked with Madonna at some point, and hopefully we'll get to that, but I remember again that Jim Yakubuski story with Yngwie, and another one of the really tough ones was Madonna. I think it was the Drowned tour in sometime in the mid '90s, and I had a bunch of lighting on it, and I was standing with Peter Morse, the lighting designer, on the floor of the Forum at rehearsals, and Madonna walks in, with her family and stuff, and she's in a bit of a mood and whatever, but she gets on stage. She didn't like the set, and so she complained quite a bit about the set, and it got changed. And so she went up and did a couple songs, and she was getting a bit of feedback. And so she'd stop everyone and say, "What's going on?" And she used a lot of expletives that I won't use, but she'd look straight at the monitor guy and be like, "What is going on?" And oh no, her mic was cutting out, is what it was. And he said, "Ma'am, it's the we're just getting wireless drop-offs or whatever." And well, why is the backup singers not getting those wireless drop-offs? Well, they're on different frequencies. And she says, "Well, put me on their effing frequency." Like that's going to work, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like looking at Peter going, really? Like they berate the people standing there just doing their job, over a product. Like, I don't know. It just seemed so nasty to me at the moment, I guess.
It's a different level. I do well under pressure.
Yeah.
At least I used to. I don't know. Maybe my heart is different these days, but
yeah.
Hopefully not breaking NDAs. But
my guess is that Madonna's probably mellowed out a whole lot by now too.
Still the same work ethic.
Is she?
Yeah. I was impressed to no end on what I learned from her.
Really?
Just by watching her operate. And it's that.
She's a pro.
I have been abrasive in my past. Is this the psychologist part of the show?
Yeah.
I remember being in Nashville those early days and going to exit in, and hopefully no one can spot the engineer, but dude's beer gut on the console yelling at the singer like, "Get closer to the mic," like from front of house.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope I am never that person. I hope that I can always like keep a happy, but I do get hard on the people around me on the court. Off the court, let's go have fun. And, I try to keep it light and do good for everybody. I think Courtney's work came about because the industry got me down and got me to a place of very extreme burnout. And I don't think if COVID hadn't hit, I probably would not be here.
Really?
Stress and
it
health
forced you to slow down.
I didn't touch a fader for a year. And
wow.
Not because I wanted to, I just didn't want to. I don't know. It was like
you needed a break.
Because it was back to, I hadn't stopped since high school. I mean, even on my birthdays and when I was young, I'd be like, "Mom, can I go play this gig?" She's like, "It's your birthday." So maybe that's the ADHD bipolar, just.
No, but it happens. I mean, I hope the same thing doesn't happen to me because I'm a workaholic and I don't want anything to slow me down. But I had a friend recently who had a heart attack and it was a relatively minor heart attack, but it was a heart attack. It didn't kill him, in other words. Yeah. And he said it saved his life. The fact that he had to stop doing what he was doing for a while. Literally, he had no choice but to stop. Yeah. And then you start to reevaluate while you've got all that free time. You start thinking about, well, this free time is nice. I got to talk to my family a lot more. I see my family more. All of these other great things happened. And yes, I'm not making maybe as much money, or I'm not, holding that exact same stature in the industry because out of sight, out of mind or whatever. But the positives outweigh the negatives, I guess.
And touring feels almost like a sport thing now, or do it when you're young and get out. And I not to say that's the path for everybody. If these other things hadn't popped up over COVID that we're doing now, and these are going so well, I'd probably be on a bus still. I mean, I
Yeah.
honestly would.
So you don't tour at all anymore?
I did a week last year filling in for another buddy of mine. He'd lost his guy on a day, and he's like, "Can you be in Calgary tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah." We did this. My first gig was back on a bus was the Stampede that
Oh,
was last
fun.
year.
Yeah.
So we busted.
Yeah.
It was a country gig, which is where I started. So it was a lot of fun doing rodeos again, and it was a good run. I think I added some things to. I was able to add some positives to the camp and got them through that week at least. And now they have another full-time engineer.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
after that
cool.
week, I was just like, I am tired. Like, what happened?
How did I do this for so long?
Yeah.
So you have no desire to drop everything and jump back on a bus for
There's
12 or 16 months?
You know, I say it to the younger people that are around us now. Like, I've done it all. And it's not a brag. It's just, don't ever have to go back to the Super Bowl. Don't ever have to go back to the Oscars. That's a certain part of the music business that doesn't interest me anymore.
Yeah.
And I've found that over the years, I had a big why. And then, over COVID, that why got destroyed by all the other things in life that I was missing out on. Or,
Yeah.
The alternative, not missing, but there's an alternative way of living and still doing this stuff. And I think I'm busier now and I'm not losing time traveling. Like the 16 hours traveling kills me nowadays when I go do gigs still.
But do you miss being around the artists and being around the vibe and being around the noise and hoopla and all of that stuff of touring?
No. Even just yesterday, we did a roadie clinic trip up to see Godsmack, and I mean, sure enough, we got up to where the side of the stage was, and I went the wrong way, and the wife went the other way. And she's like,
"That's
hey,
hilarious.
We're going to the office. We aren't going there."
Are you a Godsmack fan?
My brother raised me on heavy metal when I was a kid. And
so how did Mangini do?
It was great. It was great. He's the new drummer, the fill-in drummer.
Yeah, Mike Mangini.
Technician. Like you could tell he was.
People call him Mike Mangenius.
Yes.
Yeah. He played in Dream Theater for a long time when they fired Mike Portnoy.
Man,
and,
how do you fire Mike Portnoy? But yeah, I get it.
Well, because the whole story that I heard anyways was Portnoy was doing too many of these ego gigs and Avenged Sevenfold and was starting to take them too seriously because he was enjoying playing in bands that had female fans too, had mixed audiences because, playing in Dream Theater, it's you got guys air drumming, that's all you see every night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like what Rush used to be before they got a girl drummer.
Yeah.
And so, he loved playing in some of these bands that were getting bigger audiences and more mixed audiences. And so he was becoming less and less available to Dream Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, Mike is so much better of a human now. Like he used to be a complete egomaniac and just, very, I don't know, just a different guy than he is today and control freak and had to be involved in everything. And so anyways, they fired him and they did this it was really cool. They did this whole I was a big Dream Theater fan, as you can tell. But they did this whole tryout thing where they recorded YouTube videos for everyone who came in to try out. And they invited, they had loads and loads of drummers come in and they made it almost like a reality series, finding the new drummer for Dream Theater. And it was Mangini. But I've been wanting to hear him. I just haven't had time to go poke around YouTube hear some of the Mangini stuff.
But in person at front of house, Scott the Chuck out there rocking a Meyer rig yesterday. I was like,
that's awesome.
101, and it felt so good, like the pants flapping,
Really?
And sure enough, the drums were on point. They sounded like the genre perfectly.
Well, like you said, he's a technician.
Yeah, you could tell he had studied how everything was how every hit was delivered on every song. It was really cool.
Yeah. Mangini's so good. But so I'm jealous. I wanted to see that. But that's funny how you said you got lost. Like you went the wrong direction.
Yeah, it was just drawn to like
hilarious.
the stage. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So I want to get into a lot of the other stuff because you guys are doing so many cool things, and that's how we came to know you because we were looking to replace I have a friend who owns a coffee company, and he's a friend from the industry. He used to be a lighting tech in the industry, touring tech. and then came to work for me at one of the moving light companies. And he started a coffee company called Coffee Cult, and we were sending checks, small checks, but checks to a charity in our industry that helps, fallen soldiers in our industry or people who have needs. And we weren't really, the relationship wasn't living up to what we had wanted from it, I guess I would say. And so we got Courtney on the podcast, and then Sarah came to me and said, I know you've been looking to replace the other charity. Would you consider these guys? They're amazing. Like she's incredible. And so I listened to the podcast and then went back and said, yeah, that's our partner. That's the perfect partner for this thing. So then got to know who you were and your story a little bit through Courtney. And yeah, but the things you're doing blow my mind, like not just Roadie Clinic, but all the other things. It seems to me like you created Roadie Clinic on an idea to support the community, and then you created all of these other businesses to support Roadie Clinic in a sense.
Yeah. And it's kind of it's built off of a core idea of what Courtney and I believe music is, and how we came through the music industry and saw what we saw so far. And it's back to independent musicians. Roadies fall into that same category of, it's the people who have to carry their stuff, pack their trailers. So we kind of have put independent musicians in that same thing. But I zoom out a little farther and see how my entire success came from mixing in clubs and being able to, kind of the Beatles rule of, entertaining drunks at 3 p.m. If you can hold 50 people, you can hold 50,000 people. And it's a little bit of getting back to the basics while shooting into a stratosphere that I wasn't expecting to happen. Because other people, that's the problem. When other people come and hear your idea and then show up, like move to the spot you're at to help build that idea, you kind of sit back and go, oh, I'm a ambassador now. I'm just a steward. Even the studio we've built, I mean, it was paid for with tour money, but it's not mine. It's not like, like I know a lot of engineers build a room around themselves because this is what they're used to. And having mixed on so many consoles over the years, and whether it was in the studio, live, so many, I mean, even PAs when I got to go to front of house, but yet, going through Future Sonics to JH to, like everything's a tool to me. And it's just whatever is right for the job and right for the person. And right, there's so many factors that go into what microphone ends up in someone's hands. But
the studio is called Theory One, right?
Theory One Studios,
correct?
Yep. And we're in Niles, Michigan, which is, again, the first interview we had with somebody for the Roadie Clinic back before it was ideas was, why Niles? And that's been the question every time, and it's slowly not being asked anymore. We're on the 80-90 corridor just north of Notre Dame, and I've passed the South Bend Niles exit 400 times in my life on a bus. We're right between Chicago and Detroit.
It's a lot easier to get to than one might think.
It
perhaps.
Is. Yeah. There's a lot going by us. And it's not a big city. So if we could sit here and I could list 10,000 reasons why this is the perfect spot for the entire ecosystem, as we call it. Roadies can come, and there's vineyards 10 minutes away. Lake Michigan's 30 minutes away. We came here to rest. Her family lives on the edge of town and had a pretty decent property that we could spread out on. And if we didn't have to go back to New York, we'd fly to Chicago and take the week here and then go back to meet the tour wherever. But there's also a lot of music, and luckily some locals have pulled me into things over the last 4 years. And I am mining talent here and getting them in front of cameras and live mixes while they play, and it's now turned into a broadcast platform. And
when you say mining talent, do you mean talent on our side of the business or talent on the other side of the business, the artists?
It's 80% artists, but now there's younger people coming up under this picking the things up, wanting to learn, and it's hands-on, like pulling cable as I'm teaching them what signal flow is. And we built the in-wall speakers, table saw, glue, and screws from designs. So yeah, there's a lot of hands-on because it's just me it's on the technical side. And what I enjoy is the humans that have shown up don't know about the industry, the capital I industry.
Mm.
They're not jaded. There's no expectations. I'm growing again in curiosity and trying to keep up because the juniors are now using the tape machine and coming in here and being here at night and working and doing stuff in their own laboratories and then bringing it here to have it mixed. And that gets me out of bed every day. And it's college again. It's back to collaboration
I love
and
that. Yeah.
freely moving. And, there's no paperwork. It's just come do your thing.
So when did Theory One open officially?
Probably a year ago. I mean, there's still,
Yeah.
Courtney made me stop with the punch list and start taking clients. So, I weave enough studio work in here that people get experience and we can pay the rent with it. But in the meantime, we're building a bar and entertainment space across the street that'll be tied back to here so we can switch cameras here and mix here as a control room would be. And hopefully
Is that one called Soul Seed? Or is that another one?
Soul Seed is the platform. We'll be in the Brass Alley soon.
Brass Alley, right. Yeah. I get confused. You guys have so many things going on.
I know. There's probably need to be a diagram at some point, but there's not enough time to draw a diagram because it keeps changing.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. Trust me, I'm in a similar position. Yeah.
But we have partners in the bar venue who are also former touring humans. So yeah, people keep showing up to it, and that's when you just keep going.
Yeah.
Lots
but I
of time
love
spent.
the discovering talent thing. The fact that, in the local market, you're kind of teaching people how to work in a recording studio, but you're also discovering, hey, you're actually a pretty good singer. Why don't you get something recorded? And has any of that worked out? Like, have you discovered, a real artist yet? Ish.
There's a lot of work to do if that was the case. And it's not a singular focus. It's more of all of independent music, giving a chance to people who would never be able to come into a studio, such as I'm lucky to be in the room. I mean, it really is a stewardship ambassador situation to be in here. Because we have a partner in the studio too. And he doesn't have expectations, but I want to make sure that the place runs the way he understands.
Yeah.
And has standards with too. So it's a little bit of that. It's balancing everybody's expectations who's in the scene right now. And again, giving people the opportunity to live at their best situation. So no, it's more of as seeing how the scene is the star and see how everybody plays into it. Because many of these bands that come through that we've done tapings with play in each other's bands, or, they're kind of hired guns from either Detroit or Grand Rapids, and they come through with one person. And then the next month they're like, oh, I'm coming back with so-and-so. And they're back in again. And it really kind of feels like before places gentrified. It feels like the Lower East Side of New York here. And I think the win is that it's not landlocked. It goes from Michigan City to Sweetwater and Fort Wayne, South Bend. Goshen has a school that pumps music into their ecosystem. There's a bunch of players there who are down in Nashville and some engineers over there. Amazing. And then you head towards Kalamazoo and there's an initiative there, Sounds of the Zoo. And Jennifer Hudson Prinkert, who I met when we moved here, is putting on shows up there. And a lot of the bands that play in those shows are coming here and talking about that. And then Grand Rapids and obviously, the Billy Strings influence. So it kind of feels like a pre South by Southwest Austin in a way.
I love that. Like it's amazing. So you're not pursuing, national acts to come in and record.
Not yet. And And sure, we could have a national act on the show, but it's not come to your show. It's not like roll in your semis and just, pop. Like someone would have to present an idea that was interesting enough for us to want to shoot it creatively or to be a part of it creatively. And a lot of that is because it just kind of comes with that management baggage.
Yeah.
And
I understand.
I bristle at that part of it because it really does. I understand why it's there. And it's not to protect it from humans. It's to protect it from the machine, and people wear that as a badge of something, to be like, I'm protecting this.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that chokes
Yeah,
it.
you actually bring up a great point that I'd love to get your thoughts on when we're done talking about all of your different businesses, which is really AI in the production industry and the recording industry and the authoring industry and all of it, like in the knowledge industry, what AI, how it's going to impact. And I have AI companies. I use AI most of the day, every single day. I talk to AI more than humans at this point in my life somehow. But so the venue is called Brass Alley. And so the venue is meant to do what?
It's going to be a listening room. It's going to have an Atmos system in there, Lisa system from Acoustics. And
wow,
I want to get
deal.
back to people listening. Like, how can we lock up phones, and it only will hold 30 to 40 people, but that's why the broadcast element is part of it. So we'll shoot all those shows as well. And there's ideas of like, how do we broadcast live to other establishments in town, next town over, so that those places don't have to have bands come in and disrupt, their small space and that whole headache of having bands there, but they can still have this, the excitement of live music, and have it sound good in their space. So
you getting any bites on that?
Oh yeah, there's already 4 spots just from making friends. Oh yeah,
wow.
We can't get going fast enough. I remember talking about when we had the first few bands come in, and it was our good friend Justin Timberlake. He has a podcast, Anywhere the Needle Drops. And at one point he's like, hey, let's partner and do this live from the studio thing. Cause we had talked about our backgrounds and stuff. And Courtney was kind of pushing like, remember your broadcast experience? Like, how does that play into this? And this was a long time ago. And I remember being like begging the first few bands, and they'd have like 300 followers on their Instagram. Like, that's where we started. And then it's like, hey, come be on this thing. And they're like, what is it? And once we got a few videos, it was like, oh, it's this. Like banging together an intro out of clips and doing our own socials and stuff and really figuring it out. And now there's 4 or 5 people to do that for, that come here. So
when you talk about the recording of the videos and stuff, that's Soulseed?
That is Soulseed. That's where it'll live.
Okay, so Soulseed is content creation, video content creation. What is it?
A broadcast entity. Like, we're going to be doing commercials for. We did the coffee cold commercial the other day. Like, shot it. Yeah, as a
what
commercial.
Coffee cold commercial? I haven't even seen it yet.
I know, right?
Now I need to see it. I got to get with Courtney.
Yeah, I got to send that over. Like, they're still in post, but it was just as an exercise. Like, Courtney's like, hey, these people sponsor us, and the other one's Stagewater. Stagewater came along and sent us a bunch. So that's ending up in tapings now.
Cool.
So
that is so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of back to, if I could get a hold of a radio station around here too, then it plays what happens at the bar in real. I want as many things going out from that spot in real time as possible, whether it's on the net, to the other locations, or over the airwaves.
Did the whole concept start from the fact that Courtney's family had a bunch of land and maybe even some buildings or whatever on the land that weren't being used, and you went, well, we could do this and we could do this, and you seem to have a very creative mind for filling all of these cool little niche gaps in the industry or whatever, in the market. I mean,
it kind of started off when we were in New York and like Woodstock existed, and it's like, oh, we could have an oasis for bands to come to and record. And I'm like, well, there's Bearsville and all the other places around. I didn't ever want to own a studio. Like, honestly, after being in Nashville and being in New York, I was like, they're all dying. Why are we going to do this?
Yeah, it's kind of true.
Again, dovetailing into the AI thing, like, this room's just a tool. It doesn't do anything unless we put people in it recording or playing in front of the camera. And the best part about these young bands that come through, these unknown bands, is they're used to a space as small as our tracking room is their normal stage when they play these bars around here and other venues. And they play straight through the set because they've been playing straight through the set every night as a show, and in between banter. So yeah, kind of the moment we say go and they figure it out, usually takes 3 takes of the first song. And then by that, it clicks on to where there's a couple players who've been through 4 times on different shows. And when they walk in now, they're owning it. And sure, if you watch we're on YouTube right now, we're fleshing out the main page. But if you watch these bands grow. And that's my biggest thing is we kind of gotten through a season 1 with all the first sets. And now when they come back in this next era, it's going to be interesting to see how they've grown and kind of back to that, like, if someone finds that hit record, what were the 2 demos before that? What were the 2 EPs before that? Which we don't have right now. It's like find you on TikTok, give you a mic, and all of a sudden you're on stage somewhere in front of, you know.
So, but again, back to Soul Seed, I'm just trying to understand, first, who is the client, who is the audience, etc. for Soul Seed. So how does that all work? Like what's the whole universe of Soul Seed?
So in a broadcast situation, we put together a show of 3 to 5 songs. This is the basics, bare bones of before the magic kicks in. It's 3 to 5 songs. They play it live. We tape it, 4 or 5 cameras, a couple of high 8 cameras. We're delving into a lot of glitch lately on stuff, and it seems to be working. Kind of a throwback to the 80s and 90s vibe.
I like it. Yeah.
And these are the 20-year-olds that are pushing this stuff. I didn't plan any of that. I mean, we were, you know, and then we do an interview, and that was the biggest thing. Is like you watch something on YouTube, and my biggest complaints, it gets interrupted by a loud commercial, and then it plays and it goes to a next clip, and there's no continuity, there's no story, there's no
so it's sort of kind of a Daryl's House vibe.
Yes, but with non-famous people.
Yeah. I love the whole Daryl's House thing. Like it's so cool getting you strip down these performers and you have them playing each other's songs and stuff, and it's cool, you know.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So it's a lot of that, you know, and that harkens back to playing in garages and barns when I was a kid, you know, back in Illinois. Like, it's really a lot of that stuff.
I like that.
Like bigger bullhorn, bigger stage, honestly.
And all the businesses basically feed each other, and then they all give back to this roadie clinic thing.
10%,
yeah. And I mean, I think we've done at least 1, if not 2 podcasts on Roadie Clinic already.
Yeah.
And so we don't really need to go too much into Roadie Clinic, but give me the elevator pitch on Roadie Clinic.
Yeah. So, you know, we exist to take care of touring personnel and their families. That was a big part of it, was the family part, because, you know, you can't really have them on the road. And
it's a 501c3?
It is, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They got that the July of 2021 or 2020, whenever she submitted paperwork. So she's helped a ton of people one-to-one. We did care packages last year to a number of artists' tours. I think so. Toner and Some went out. I'm gonna get the numbers wrong. I'm seriously. She does so many things that I don't even know about anymore. But then she goes, "Hey, you got to come do this thing with me. With, you know, like, come see these people." So I think I've just become a figurehead for her. But yeah, it's great what she does and the people she helps. It's really just kind of people who fall through the cracks or don't know that resources exist. Can't slow down. Like, she understands all of it. Like, she can tell a therapist she lines up with a client, hey, like, they might not get back to you because it's busy. Don't worry about it. Or, you know, she can navigate the whole person, the whole, you know, it might be 6 things when someone calls that need help. But if you just focus on mental health, it's that's one of it. And hopefully this evolves into a building here. It's sitting empty right now. It's been demolitioned, and that was the first thing. And then the studio took over our focus, and now that's up and running. And then the bar is taking over our focus for this season of the summer. And once that's up and cooking, then hopefully we can double back and have partnered with some people who can push the rest of that forward, because it's kind of the middle of it all.
I love it. Yeah, I really love what you're doing. One question I was going to ask, you mentioned Sweetwater. How far are you from Sweetwater?
I think it's about an hour 45 or 2 hours.
Do you do anything with them?
Not much. They have their own charitable arms. We've looked into it. I'm on the board of the Music Village in South Bend, and they support that because they're teaching kids. So instruments come from there, and they're putting in a new recording space so kids can learn how to record there. And Sweetwater, I think, was part of that gear procurement, which is awesome. So yeah, it's kind of like, you know, it has its spot there, and it works for that. And that's been the best part, is seeing how the rest of it's like local, regional, national, global is how we kind of approach every day.
Yeah, I was just curious because, you know, Mike Clem, the CEO, I'm fairly friendly with him. And, you know, if you ever wanted a connection or, you know, mutual email or something, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love what you guys are doing. Like, I love it more every time I talk to either you or especially Courtney, because she's, you know, she's rabid about the whole thing. Like, she's obviously very passionate about what you guys are doing, and she does a great job explaining it all. And I just love it. Like, instantly when we were sort of introduced to the whole thing, it was like, oh yeah. And now it makes me want to buy and sell more coffee. So I've done
Yes.
more coffee reads on these podcasts and stuff than I did in the past, because I want to make sure the checks going back to you guys are growing, not the same tiny level that they are right now. So.
And thank you
So,
for that,
yeah.
because we know it. It's so we're running on such great human input, energy.
Yeah.
But man, every dollar counts. She'll take care of someone else before she take care of herself on all of this.
Yeah, I get that feeling. Like I get the feeling that you guys really, really, like, this isn't, when sometimes they put these social missions at the front end of a product, but the real focus is on the product. I mean, for you guys, I really get the feeling that you really do want to help people and move. You want to move progress. You want to push things forward.
Yeah, I'm into
I
people's
like that.
potential and every part of it. And if she's
Love it.
removing barriers for people, then someone can go be better at what they do.
Yeah,
It makes the industry better.
What's your take on AI?
Oof.
Are you on the utopian or dystopian side of the conversation?
I'm kind of done with sides everywhere. I think
Me too.
I think the season the season of black or white or red or blue or
I believe that so much. I love it.
And if I call my own bluff, it is a tool. This goes way back, but when I was first at Mask Sound as a project manager, Courtney wrote my emails at night. When I would have to interact with clients. Like, I would do a gig and interface with the client, usually connected to me by Jeff Shearing at the time. He would be like, hey, I got this thing going on. Can you take care of it? And get the gear together, get the list together, talk to the client, do the order, put it together, go run it, pack it, like work with the union floor to build it and pack it and then take it out. And usually that client a week later is like, hey, you got to bill me so I can pay you. And so that's Courtney taught me how to write an email. And now there's not enough time in the day for me to, like you said, to bounce things off Courtney. So I talk to it to see, like, is this sound crazy? What are and you have to be really careful because it will tell you what you want to hear. But then
all the time.
Yeah, you can tell, like, hey, take the other side.
Yeah, no, I've done a lot of coaching with AI on don't do that to me. Yeah. Don't just tell me, oh, what a great idea. No, tell me why it's a terrible idea. Yeah. Tell me why it's never going to work in a million years.
Yes.
That's the part that I want to hear first.
Yeah. So I guess treat it like a calculator. I mean, it's another.
Really?
Yeah, like it's a utilitarian to me in a way, but yet, yeah, I mean, it'd be like putting my hope in a compressor. Like, oh, this is going to make my rig. It's like, it's still down to the humanity of what you do with it and how you can interact with other people.
There's some of that. Yeah, there's definitely some of that. But at the same time, like, for example, right now upstairs in my house, there is a YouTube channel playing reggae versions of all kinds of hit songs that's made by AI on the fly. It's live and it's kicking out all these reggae songs. Like, I just heard Reggae Hotel California right before I came down to record the podcast.
Yeah.
So things are changing very rapidly. Things have changed a lot. They're going to continue to change. These models keep getting more and more powerful. And, I have a couple of businesses right now that are about 90% run by AI and almost autopilot. Yeah. And I believe that certain functions right now should be autopilot functions and other functions shouldn't. And those typically are more around your experiences, your feelings, your relationships, your network. You can't put AI in charge of those types of things, but certainly your paperwork, your phone bill, your, all of the mundane tasks that everyone wastes 50% of their day doing. Absolutely should and will be controlled by AI. And probably that includes driving. That probably includes putting the dishes in the dishwasher after your meals, cleaning the house. Like, a lot of those things are going to be automated in the future, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
well, that may leave more time to come to the listening room and sit in, immersive performances and See how it
That's
makes
the
you feel
utopian
better.
side.
Yeah.
You're a little young for the Jetsons, but I grew up on the Jetsons, and that is. I have a friend, a business associate who I'm doing some work with right now, and he's a very famous movie producer, director, very famous in the movie business. And he's being courted right now by one of the large language models out there. I won't mention which one because there's all kinds of NDAs flying around, I'm sure. But he's being courted to create positive movies about AI because so far all of the content out there about AI in movies, in series, and whatever, even documentaries. It's all about the dystopian side, how it's going to destroy the world and replace humans and completely obliterate civilization as we know it, and all of these things. And they, of course, and I think it makes sense, they want to show the other side of it all, how there's not going to be disease anymore, and you're not going to be short on anything. Nobody will be starving. Nobody will be homeless. And so, yeah, I mean, my head's somewhere in the middle of both of those, I think.
Yeah.
Just like most things, like you said, the sides don't matter. It's all the bit in the middle that really does, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough, though. It's tough to get pulled one way or the other.
Well, I mean, again, in the businesses that you're in, at some point, is there going to be a no need for a monitor person? At some point, is that all just a conversation between the artist and an AI bot? And
but at that point, there's not an artist, because we've designed an artist who fits the parameters of what they figured out those people feel when certain tones come out of something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, I think live music is never going to go away. Live events, sports, race car drivers, whatever it is, it's never going to go away, because that is the thing that's going to still pull the community together. And everyone, the more you get AI, the more people are going to want to go see a live event and see a band play, so that they're like, yesterday at one point I had to shut off this AI music thing. My fiance puts it on and I had to shut it off because every song started really sounding the same, even though it wasn't the same notes. It was the same feel. It was the same, or lack of feel.
Yeah.
It was the same nuances, and just gets boring,
Yeah.
And I have another friend he owns a company in Europe, or used to own a company in Europe called AED, but he has a film studio, a movie studio. And we had a talk about AI on this podcast. And he said, the problem with AI is, once AI is making all the movies and shows and stuff out there, it's all going to be good, but it's all going to basically hit a plateau of good, and it'll all be the same. It'll all basically be, it'll go whoop, and it'll hit there.
Well,
nothing will suck. Nothing will be amazing. It's not going to be like this. It's just going to be a flat line. Well, it'll be a good flat line.
If you think about, you mentioned, DB Audio, Showco, like, we're still at the tail end of the people who invented.
So true.
And now we're like, what, maybe getting into the fourth generation of engineers who learned essentially the things that these people invented, how to do it, when to do it,
It's incredible.
The way you mix. I mean, I learned how to mix standing next to six people, 6 different people over the years, and just picking up things from them. So it's almost like, if we get to a point where AI is, like you said, plateaued, and people are like, this is just industry standard, that would be a problem. Like, it's where does Blair Witch fit into all of it? Like, when something's just so left field,
of course,
that it changes the outcome.
Blair Witch is such a perfect example to bring up there, because AI is not going to create that. It's too goofy. The quality's not high enough, or whatever, right? But that's why. Or Pulp Fiction, even, like some of the movies that he made, just a little off the beaten path, not quite so perfect, a little weird. You've got some interesting cinematography or whatever, like, that's the stuff I love. Like, that's the nuances in all of it are, I think, what we're losing, and we're already losing it in this AI music. I went from being blown away by AI music to being pretty like, meh. Like when I'm really bored and I just want background
Mhm.
noise, I'll put on one of these AI playlists because then I don't have to make any decisions. It's just like putting
Yeah.
on a black t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to think about it. Yeah, it's boring, but I don't have to think about it.
There's so many things to use your brain for.
Yeah. And, you know, but like, is that going to happen to everything? Is that going to happen to food where recipes are all boring, you know?
Yeah.
There's no longer like, oh, if you just put this, what? Why would you put that with that? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. We'll try it. Try it, you know?
Yeah.
So, because the world isn't perfect, you know?
No,
great
it's not.
things are not normally perfect.
Yeah. Ship that
Weird.
piece. Get it off your hard drive.
Did we miss any of your businesses?
That's it.
I think we got
so.
them all.
She'll kill me if I make another one.
Oh, I feel firmly in belief that there are more coming.
Yeah.
Like, you have a very entrepreneurial mind for a creative engineer person. Like, and I don't mean that to put down engineers, you know, but I always sort of had this vision that engineers made terrible salespeople because they didn't like to look people in the eyes. They were uncomfortable looking people in the eyes. They don't like bright lights. They like it in the dark, you know. They look at their shoes a lot, you know. And so I always avoided hiring salespeople that were engineers. But you're very different. Like you're very, and I'm not saying front of house engineers are like that because generally you're not, but or audio engineers in general. But yeah, you're very entrepreneurial and you've got two sides to your mind for sure, the creative side and the business side.
Relationships. I've been really, because like I mentioned earlier, like as the modern engineer, like you're the top of the pyramid and what I say goes loosely, you know, like obviously, but yeah, when the artists look, especially I was saying like earlier, like, you know, I feel like front of house engineers were the rock stars back in the day. And then modern engineers kind of took that place because of in-ears, just the way it went, and you're closest to the person and they're going to look at you. Like you mentioned earlier with the Madonna story, that is very true. Even down to like, why was the lighting wrong? I'm like, I'll go ask. And you already, you know, you're walking to the designer going, he asked, what do you think? You know,
but
like,
at least you don't get the, you got a set list? Can I get a set list?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't get those calls.
So, no, I think this season's been learning relationships and how to be kinder to accomplish the thing as a group. And I've had to lower expectations just by deciding to invite in some young human beings to figure themselves out and grow with the process. And all the projects here, I tell everybody, no matter how buffered you are coming to this project, whether it's a buffer of money or talent or expertise, everybody's going to grow. There's no way to not grow in this creative thing we're doing here.
I love that. That's a great point to end on.
Thank you.
If there's ever anything we can do to help you guys, you or both of you or whatever, whether it's related to gear or introductions or anything, never hesitate to reach out. Love what
Thanks
you guys
for being
are
a
doing.
part of this whole craziness.
No,
we'll always
likewise.
thank you guys.
Likewise. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have an amazing week.
You too.
All right. Cheers. In the touring world, the show doesn't happen without the crew. They're the first ones in and the last ones out. But long nights and life on the road takes a toll. That's why we've teamed up to create something that fuels your body and the mission. At Coffee Cult, they don't do average. So for our Geezer's Grind blend, their team wanted something unapologetic. With my help, they fused the dark intensity of their Road Dog roast with the smooth, nutty balance of their medium roast, Horizon Gold. And the result is not your average cup of coffee. It's a premium small batch blend built for the long haul on a tour bus or for your comfy living room lounge chair. But it is more than just a caffeine kick we're after. 20% of every bag sold goes directly to the Roadie Clinic, whether it's mental health resources, their Roadie Doc RX program, or just a safe space to heal in the Roadie Clinic, Michigan facility. Your morning coffee is now helping to provide a lifeline to the men and women behind the scenes. It's crews taking care of crews. From the rigger in the rafters to the engineers at front of house, we're adding a layer of support so that no one is forced to walk the road alone. Visit theroadieclinic.com and head over to Coffee Cult, coffee with a K, cult with a K.com, and grab a bag of Geezer's Grind today and support the world's roadies. Fuel your day while supporting your crew.